Okay, welcome back. Now we continue to work on to learn how what's classes in processing. Now we're gonna define a little bit more interesting and how we can use this class. So for this, as for any processing program, okay, let's save first it. Class 1. I call it class 1. And for classes, it's very good practice. I can create a new tab here. And for this tab, I will create another file where it's gonna be my class. So it make my code a little bit more clear after for you also. And for everyone. Again, if you're writing big program, we better split it into few files to make it not so long and better understandable for us. Okay, let's call this particle. And this is gonna be our class name. Class particle. Okay, we save it again, and in our processing program, as always, void setup, void row, standard setup, right? We need to define the screen, function size. So we define size, let's say 600 by 800. We define our background black. We save and we run it, and we see, okay, this is our program. Okay, fine. So how we gonna do, for example, before when we again, let's make it not particle. I wanna rename it. I will call it planet. Remove permanent. Okay, I just rename it in my folder to the planet. So I will have my class name planet here also. So let's see, I want to do some simulation of the planet in the space, right? And let's first define how it could looks. Okay, create a Photoshop file. Okay, so how any planet system looks. We have one planet in the middle, it's gonna be Sun, and we have multiple of other planets spinning around, right? This with different speed and different size. So each planet is gonna be our class. So each planet have size, and each planet have distance from the Sun and the speed, how fast it moves, right? So how we gonna did it before, for example? So before we will need to create, okay, one array of the sizes. Let's say I wanna have 5 planets, right? speed equals new float. Okay, and let's just use n here. Int n, let's say 5. Number of planets, right? And float. Okay, this is, let's do also float size. No, size, okay, int. Anyway, it's gonna be in pixels. Float. Orbit, it's called, yeah, the distance from the sun. New float. And after we will need to define all of them, and after draw all of them. And after I will need to do the same to draw all of them. That's how we're gonna do before, right? But it's gonna get a little bit more complicated in the future if we're gonna more function and more calculation on it. So now we will try to do it with the class. Because now you know, okay, all planets gonna be the same, right? Let's also here create the same. It's easier anyway. Our rotation gonna be around the center. So now let's try to define class. Okay, we have planets with parameters in size, zero, float speed 0, float orbit 0. So if I do something like this, when I define class and set up 0, it's gonna be default. So parameter by default. If I'm not gonna change it, when I will create new class, that's gonna be the value of this class. And what I need to do, and now we have the methods, right? What I need to do, I need to have one method to draw planet, ellipse, I need to define x, y in radius, it's gonna be size, right? X, y does not have for now. So because the planet gonna go rotate around center, let's change color. So our position defined just by orbit and the angle. So as you see here, I think I need to create one more variable, angle, for the planet, right? And let's go push matrix, pop matrix, to not mess up our planets, and we can define x position gonna be 0 always for us, because it's gonna be start from here, and Y position, it's gonna be the orbit. This is gonna be our center of coordinates for now. So we're gonna rotate for our angle. Rotate. And you remember we need radians function and angle. Right? So this function will draw our planet. And second function gonna be with update position. It's pretty much simple. Angle gonna be angle plus speed. That's all. So speed is gonna be our angular speed. And now if we wanna use these classes, all what I need to make the same. Now our class, it's the type. So now I can write planets, plane, so now I define 5 objects of type planet, and all of these objects will have these parameters inside. So I can do like the same. Plane I, new planet. You remember we did the same before. So this is basically I need to create the object. So here I just define, but they did not exist yet. To create it, I need to make the new object class. And here I can draw planet I, draw what's the name it was here, draw planet, and plan I, update. I think it's just update function. Update position. And I can save. So now you see these objects, it's pretty easy now. Alright. But what does this mean? This dot, it's called dot syntaxes. So to any parameter or methods of my object, I can get access by using this. So for example, I can do the same here. Planet Y size print. So I can print the size, right, of each planet, for example. I save, I start, I run it, and you see, okay, it's 0 because it's 0, right? By default here we define it's gonna be 0, so it's our default parameters. And of course when I start you cannot see anything because first of all, okay, let's define the size of the planet by default 10. Second, what we need to do here, we need to move our center of coordinate to the center, and we need to tell the color of our planet, right? So now we see, but all our planets here, there are not many, how much of this exists. So this is dot syntaxes allow us to get access to our object. We did before with vectors, the similar, and you did before with some object, like if you go to examples again and see, like, okay, we used minim before, yeah, for audio player. You see, we create the object minim, we create the object audio player, and for minim we have the same like dot syntaxes to get the method of this object, and this method we send parameter, the name of the file and the bitrate. We have the method buffer size that will return us buffer size, and we have a multiple method. You can see, you can get access. The syntaxes, it can be again multiple times. So how this part of the syntaxes work? When we use dot syntaxes, we can combine multiple functions in one line. So to make our code shorter, maybe, yeah. So it's just like additional functionality is the need. So that's what I have. So for example, before to draw planet, I want to update position of the planet. So I will need to do it like this first, right? I update position of the planet and after I draw it. Or I can use this multiple dot syntaxes. No. Here it's not gonna work because here is they return nothing. Here this one will return something from which we're gonna get this one. So this is gonna follow the function from the left to right. But this is not important for now anyway. So we get access to our planet, we draw. Okay, fine, we save it. And now we need to define how I can set up the parameters for my planet when I create this object. And for this, we have a constructor. Constructor is a method that create this object. Constructor will have the same name as our class have. Planet, and I can define, okay, I have planet, and this is gonna be our default constructor. So if I did not set any parameter here in my planet, I will set up my parameters by default. And this I gonna do not here, but inside here. I can define size, gonna be 10 by default, speed gonna be 1 by default, orbit gonna be random from 0 to 300, and angle gonna be 0. Let's just define everything mostly random here by default. So speed from 0 to 3 degree per frame, and size random from 5 to 20. But random give us float, we need to convert it to the int first, right? So okay. And now you see, when I will call this function new planet, this method will happen. So now when I start my program, we will see that we have our planets now moving around, right? And you see it's set up the random position always, because every time when I start my program, I create the new object, and when I create this new object, I have a constructor. In constructor, I define what I need to do when I create new object. Okay, here it's easy. We just set up size, speed, orbit, angle. but in some object, for example, you can have here, you can call here some other functions. For example, if I have constructor for phone, I need to install operation system on the phone, and I need to do this, and this, right? So constructor give us ability to define what should happen when our program starts, when we create new objects of this class. You can think about this the same as setup function. It's happened once when we start program. This happened once for each object when we started. When we create it. Alright, okay. Let's save for now. And here we have one more very interesting things, additional things for classes. We can have multiple constructors. Let's talk one thing before this. So we can use the same way. We can just define size and speed and so on, but I prefer this syntaxis. This is not required in our case, but it's a little bit more clear. This means this class. This is object. So when I create this object, for this object size, I will set up the int random. So you see, in our case, it does not change anything here. But in case you will write a big program and will have a lot of things after, it will protect you from some errors and from using the same name for different parts. It's make it a little bit need more to write, but it's not big difference, but it can protect you and save from some problem in future. And if you will transform to try to use another language like Python, C, or whatever, they all will use the same syntaxes. Even Java in most cases will use the same syntaxes. So as we already start to talk, we can have a multiple constructor. So this is constructor default, and now I will create another constructor. And it will have totally the same name, because constructor should have the name. But now you see error. I cannot have two duplicate methods, so the same method with the same name for one class. I can, but they should be different. So if I will write here in size, it's already gonna be different method. They have the same name, but they have the different arguments. When I will call function, if I will create, for example, from 1 to n minus 2, and here I can call plan I minus 2, new planet 100, and plan not I, and here gonna be n, because I it's here inside. Plan n minus 1, new planet 50. So now when my program will start execute, it will see if it does not this when I create new object, I do not have argument, it will use the method, the constructor without arguments. and if it will see that I have some integer inside or float here in my argument, it will use this one. So this one gonna be pretty much the same, but what I gonna do here, I define that it's my size gonna be the same as the size I give. So now I should have two planets, one with size 100, one with size 50, and another free planet gonna be random size. So you see 50, 100, and another free random, right? And so like this, and I can have multiple constructors. I can have another constructor where I know the size and orbit. And I can have another constructor where I know the size, orbit, and float speed. So now, for example, for biggest planet 100, I can tell the orbit gonna be 0 and speed gonna be 0. So this is planet 100, it's gonna be my sun pretty much. It's gonna be at the center of coordinate, right? And it's not gonna spin. So now I have my sun inside and other planets moving around. And for this, for the second one, you see the 51. This one always here, the 51 is moving around, but every time I will start and play, it will have like different orbit, different speed. But for example, I can define what the orbit I want it to be. This one, the biggest one, I want to be quite far away. So now the orbit of this planet will be always 200, but speed random. So now we create the object planet with our class, and you see how it's easy and clear to see in our processing sketch, and how well and clear it could be defined in the class, right? So now what I want you to do, I want you to improve this class. So you can add color for each planet. Yes, at least. What also we can add for planet. I don't know. Okay, you can think and try maybe to create some more objects, not objects, methods for the planet. For example, color. And yeah, okay, and next is gonna be next class.